Welcome to Trigger Warning with your host, Chris Brumbles. Are you tired of the professional liars of fake news and far-left radicals? Are you ready for truth and common sense? The insanity and divisiveness of political correctness and identity politics have no place here. So welcome to Trigger Warning, where free speech is free speech, not racism. There are no participation trophies, so if your mind is weak, grab your binky, head to your safe space. Consider this your trigger warning.
Good afternoon, Columbia County, and welcome to Trigger Warning, the show that embraces free speech, truth, and common sense while rejecting political correctness and left-wing nutty policies. You know, the closer we get to the election, the crazier the talking points seem to be. The ads become more unbelievable, and the more the left-wing radicals embrace fantasy. You don't hear about the accomplishments that they've accomplished because they really don't have any good ones. All you hear is attacks on their competition. I hope that you all get out to vote, but when you do, I hope that you have educated yourself on who and what you are voting on instead of relying on these insane lying ads that are on the boob tube and the radio. By the way, I wouldn't trust the polls either. I believe that the days of polls actually having any amount of accuracy is long behind us since the fake news has become the norm. Take the presidential polls, for example. For some of these polls to be accurate, the Democrats would have to have the largest turnout in history. Biden would have to have a larger percentage of people voting for him than FDR did, and a large percentage of Republicans, I believe it's about 38%, would have to actually vote against President Trump. Not going to happen. And if you look at the trending all across of all of the Democrats switching party for the past couple years in our state, our county, and our country, the Republicans gaining voters while the Democrats losing voters in swing states, the enthusiasm of the president all over the country and the world, as a matter of fact, and the corrupt, unappealing, mindless candidate that the Democrats put up, you have to assume that the president, in spite of the cheating that is going on the other side of the aisle, will win by a huge landslide. The only way the polls aren't mathematically impossible is if you use communist core to get to the figure them. The American people have a choice between a president who has brought us, of course this is all before the scamdemic, he's brought us the best economy ever, lowered the unemployment rate to the lowest it has ever been for every ethnic group, done more to protect religious freedom than any other president since the founding, reduced bureaucracy to get the government out of the way so the business can thrive, and actually kept promises. Wow. Imagine that. We can choose him or a seemingly senile guy who has sold out to a Marxist movement to destroy our country. We have a choice between a guy that loves our country and Donald Trump, and a guy that wants to turn our country into a third world looting burn fest. There really is no other choice than President Donald Trump. I have to tell you that I am a bit perturbed today at the NRA. I'll tell you why in a minute. Many of us have been working on firing Brad Whitlis for the past couple of years. And trust me when I tell you he is scared. He has never put up even close to the amount of signs that he has put out recently, ever. Even his neighbors by his house in Clatskanie, where he is never seen, has put up Brian Stout signs. Most people in the county know that he only represents himself and crazy Eva Brown. Crazy Kate Brown. Pardon the confusion. They seem so much alike. Anyway, sad Brad only represents himself and the will of the governor. He has done nothing for the people of this county unless you are a criminal, illegal invader, a corporation, or a union. If you are a business owner, the middle class, or someone who likes their liberty, Brad only cares about you at election time. He is a cull and an oath breaker that chooses party over principle, and we need to fire him. Let's recap again, since it's so close to the election, part of his voting record. Brad voted with the governor to force transgender studies in our schools. He voted to disenfranchise your vote and to undermine the Constitution by voting with the National Popular Vote Marxists. He voted for the job and middle class killing hidden sales tax, HB 3427. They call it the cat tax. He has introduced at least 2 bills going against the will of Oregonians to give illegal invaders driver's licenses. He co-sponsored many bills to give special privileges and monies to illegal invaders. Witless anti-freedom and anti-religious vote on forced vaccines is just disgusting. But to add insult to injury, he went on a racist rant on the floor against the Slavic community who disagreed with him on this bill. Nitwit voted contrary to the Oregon Constitution to steal your tax kicker. He believes in the Marxist religion of anthropogenic or man-made global warming, claimed he didn't vote for cap and trade, but voted 5 times to prevent it from going to different committees that might have killed it. Then he came out saying that he didn't vote for it, but had a better cap and trade plan to steal and redistribute your wealth. See where this is going? He voted to block any chance of killing the cap and trade, but didn't vote on it because his vote was not needed. This is called tactical voting. I guarantee if Tina Kotek would have said to vote on it, he would have. He was allowed to be MIA, and so now let's talk about the rights to keep and bear arms. Brad would have you believe that he is pro-gun, but I assure you he is not. I am the county coordinator of Oregon Firearms Federation, so I've studied his voting record. We are the only no-compromise gun group in Oregon because we know that there is no common sense in giving up any of your rights at all. A couple years ago, Brad voted yes on HB 4145, which redefined and expanded the list of family members for the purpose of confiscation. Brad then had a town hall where he pledged to sponsor bills to steal the rights of military-age persons and to allow age discrimination by his corporation buddies. Here are the bills he pledged, some of the bills he pledged to introduce and get support for. Number 1, he said he would like to sponsor a bill that would be a minimum age, raise the minimum age to 21 to purchase a semi-automatic firearm. Number 2, he said he'd raise the age to 21 to purchase or possess a firearm that's capable of holding 10 or more rounds. Number 3, he's picking on age 21 on military age guys again. Age 21 once again to purchase or possess a magazine holding 10 or more rounds. By the way, the Ninth Circus has found these magazine bans against commonly owned magazines are unconstitutional. Of course, that never stopped Brad. He doesn't, I don't even think he can spell Constitution. Number 4, sellers of firearms. For sellers of firearms, it would be their choice to limit sales to individuals 21 and over, and there would be no grounds to hold the company liable for age discrimination. So now he wants to totally violate the protected rights of military-age persons and allow discrimination against them. Number 5, he wanted to outlaw bump stocks. And once again, it has been proven that bump stocks weren't even used in the Las Vegas fiasco. Number 6, he wanted a 3 strikes and you're outlaw that would take away your constitutionally protected rights for what he calls violent offenses. And his examples were a bar fight, domestic violence, or animal cruelty. Didn't say anything about a gun being involved. This clown, in order to appeal to the far left radicals, has voted for and is willing to continue voting for illegal gun laws to violate your rights and his oath of office. That's why he has an F, and has for a couple years from Oregon Firearms Federation. Last year, the NRA gave Brad a B+ rating, so I approached them, told them the facts, and asked them to lower his rating. I was told that they would look into it, but instead, he was given an A- this year, and they just put out a blast for him. They gave Brian Boquist, the sponsor of the red flag law that violates the 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 9th and 14th Amendment, a B rating. I am done with the NRA and encourage you to go to OFF for fair and true candidate ratings when it comes to how they are on guns in this state anyways. We have recently put it up again, and it should be easy to find. Witless signs anti-gun legislation and then sends out flyers with himself in hunting gear. Don't be fooled. Brad represents himself, not you. And as I said before, he is a cull. The NRA just lost a 30-some odd year supporter in me. Remember to fire Brad Witt on November 3rd, and let's put Brian Stout in office so that we will finally have representation. My guest today is Philip Van Cleave, the president of Virginia Citizens Defense League. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Trigger Warning.
Hello, all you triglets out there listening to Trigger Warning. This is where we reject political correctness and left-wing insanity, but instead, we embrace truth and common sense. You know, there is only one gun group in Oregon that will not compromise on your rights, and that is Oregon Firearms Federation. With all the trickery and evil bills that come from the supermajority in Salem, you need a friend who will keep you informed of these nefarious plans to plunder your rights. If you have not done so, don't delay. Go to OregonFirearms.org and sign up for the free alerts. It will cost you nothing, and you will get the truth on what's going on in Salem. There is absolutely no common sense in giving up your rights, so sign up for our email alerts, and if you want to donate, we won't complain, and it will be put to good use. Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no-compromise gun group in the state of Oregon, at OregonFirearms.org. Sign up today. The Columbia County Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, Measure 5-278, will be on the ballot this November. Make sure to vote yes on Measure 5-278 so that you can help defend the rights of you and your children. Your rights have been under attack in Salem every session for as long as I can remember, and these attempts at control that will not affect criminals will not stop. So let's make our county a sanctuary for guns and pass the county law that protects your rights. Vote yes on the SASO Measure 5-278. While you are protecting our county, let's remember to fire Brad Witt, who only represents himself, not you. Let's elect Brian Stout to represent District 31, a family man and a businessman. He feels the same pains that you do. Let's send someone to Salem who is in touch with the people and will actually represent you. Elect Brian Stout as District 31 representative. Are you as tired as I am of the constant propaganda from the lamestream media? Would you like to get your news from a trusted source? How about two sources? Go to Redoubt News out of northern Idaho, where citizen journalists actually fact-check and do research. Redoubt News Oregon may even be coming here soon. Northwest Observer, another great news source that tells it like it is. Give it a try. I'm sure you will be impressed. It's time that we have truth in the news. So go to Northwest Observer and give Redoubt News a shot, and you have nothing to lose and only facts to gain. Don't forget to vote in the upcoming election. The majority does not win elections. The majority of the minority who votes does. Your vote counts, so make sure that your voice is heard and get out to vote. Now, back to Trigger Warning, where we reject political correctness and left-wing nut job policies, and we embrace truth and common sense. With your host, Chris Brumbles.
Well, welcome back, Columbia County. We have a special guest on today. We have Philip Van Cleave, the president of Virginia Citizens Defense League, and thank you for coming on today, Phil.
Oh, glad to be on, Chris.
How's the weather out in Virginia? It's pretty sunny and nice out here.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's in the mid-70s, short sleeve weather right now, and the sun's out. It's beautiful right now.
Good.
We had all our rain last week.
Yeah. So will you tell the people a little bit about yourself and how you came to become the president of VCDL?
Okay, well, yeah, I basically, when I turned, well, I had BB guns when I was a kid and grew up in Illinois, and then moved to Texas when I was 15. Anyhow, I ended up becoming a deputy sheriff as a reserve officer and got my first revolver in 1973. Mm-hmm. And I moved to Virginia in 1980. Didn't really think I could carry here. I wasn't a police officer anymore. So in 1995, I heard on the television that, hey, the law's been changed, and now anybody can apply for a permit, and you just have to get training and so forth. So I immediately ran down, and it was the Northern Virginia Citizens Defense League that had got that done right out of the box. They formed at the end of 1994, and in 1995, they got a bill put into the General Assembly and made Virginia a shall-issue state. And then I went down to the General Assembly because I lived in Richmond area. I thought, well, I need to do something to protect these rights. I went down there just to start lobbying, and I ran into them, and they had nobody in this area, so it was a match made in heaven. They had the organization and taught me the ropes, and then I was here to lobby, where they were hours away up in Northern Virginia. And it sprouted out from there. I became president in 2001 after being vice president for 3 years. I have a background in computer science, and if you'd told me 30 years ago I'd be doing this, I'd have laughed at you.
Yeah. So can you tell people a little bit about Virginia Citizens Defense League and what some of the things they do are?
Sure. The group formed because Virginia was a May issue state, and it was just so hard, depending on where you went. Like in Fairfax County, hardly anybody got a permit. You had to know somebody who knew somebody, Some localities, the judge would give it to anybody that asked. Others wouldn't give it to women, some wouldn't give it to men, some wouldn't give it to minorities. And we just said, it's bad enough you got to beg for permission to carry a concealed handgun. That at least should be equitable. At least the government should have to show that you can't have such a permit for some, reason with your background. And so that was the impetus that brought the group together. And what we do now is we continue to push legislation. Every year we get bills put in to restore our right to keep and bear arms. We're not enhancing it. We're just putting it back to where it should have been constitutionally, where you should be able to carry a gun everywhere you go. And we're a watchdog. If a locality tries to do something they can't legally do that affects guns, then we'll get involved, including up to a lawsuit if necessary, and we've done that a few times. And we're also educational. We make sure that our members are really up to date on gun laws, on guns, all sorts of issues, all dealing with firearms. We have a free email system called VA Alert that you can sign on to on our website, and we have 52,000 people on there.
Oh,
and
wow.
They love it. Yeah, we keep it interesting, and we keep it focused on guns.
Good. That's awesome. I'm with Oregon Firearms Federation, and my boss, Kevin Starrett, I don't know if you know him or not, he actually started with Gun Owners of America, and we have a no-compromise policy like they do, and hopefully y'all do too. But,
yeah, we're good friends with GOA, as you know, is headquartered here in Virginia, and Eric Pratt and Larry, his father, before him. We all stay in touch.
Yeah, I am kind of, I've been an NRA member for 30-some years. I'm done now. I don't like to talk bad about other gun groups, but we've been trying to get rid of this representative that only represents himself for the last 2 years in this county. We've worked hard at it, and they just put out a blast for him. So I'm not too happy with the NRA now, and I approached him last year. Last year, they he's voted anti-gun legislation and wants to do more. And I put out I actually approached the state coordinator, or whatever they call him, for the NRA, and I gave her all the information. I said, hey, you need to lower his grade. We're giving him an F. And he's running around saying he's gotten a B+. So it was kind of inferred that they would. And then this year they gave him an A-. and then they put out an email blast for him.
What we've learned about how the NRA does that is we found that their B's, C's, D's, and F's are actually fairly accurate. It's the A's that are a wild card. I think they use that to perhaps curry favor with some that are not all that good, but they want to curry favor with them because maybe they're in power or they think they'll be in power, so they sort of bless them with an A. We've certainly seen that in Virginia. We're going, what, an A for this guy? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But we just ignore and go on with our own. We don't really do the A through F thing, but we do survey, and right before the election, we actually have been releasing the survey so people can actually see the actual answers.
Right.
But anyhow, yeah, I completely agree. That's we've seen that modus operandi. And that's the only way I can explain it. Is the A is sort of a gift they use to curry favor.
Yeah, and they gave so we have a rhino here called Floyd Brzezinski. I call him Anti-Zansky, and he sponsored the red flag law under the guise of suicide prevention. Violates 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 14th.
Well, no, what do you mean suicide prevention? It doesn't get the person any treatment.
Yeah,
How
I know.
are you preventing a suicide if you don't get him help?
And
Red flags don't do that.
and not only that, a mental health provider is not involved in any of the process. They can't clear your name. and the thing is, they gave him a B. The NRA gave him a B. I can't. So
really?
So I'm writing to him. What the hell do you have to do to get a bad grade from the NRA?
Maybe B stands for bogus.
That's what I call him. That's what I actually call him. I call him bogus. His name was Boquist, is the guy. So, hasn't Virginia traditionally been a pro-gun state?
Yes, it has. This is the first time we've had any real serious gun control put in over 20 years. Mm-hmm. We've been able to beat it all back. Oh, they've tried, but we've been able to easily beat back gun control in this state until gun owners didn't get out and vote like they should have, and the Democrats took control of everything. We used to have some checks and balances. Right now we don't have any.
Oh, I hear that. We'll talk about that, about Oregon in a while here. We got a communist governor who just keeps extending this ridiculous emergency clause. As we know, the U.S. Constitution doesn't have any emergency clauses because our founders knew that everything would become an emergency.
Yes, absolutely.
Crazy Kate Brown is proving that absolute power. What was that? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Corrupts absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And maybe she's the sister of our governor. It sounds like they're two peas in a pod.
Oh, I hope your governor ain't as bad as ours. We've tried to.
I don't know. Ours is pretty sad.
We've tried to recall our governor 7 times, and she's not there still because she's a good governor. She's there because it's such a high threshold to get rid of her. And last time we missed it by 2,700 votes. So you need 280,000 votes to get rid of her.
Wow.
And Oregon doesn't have near the population that Virginia does. So that's a lot of votes. I think it's 16% of the last gubernatorial. I may be wrong about, but I think that's what it is. And they're planning on recalling her again after this election, but we missed it by 20. So if you get 280,000 votes, you're going to need over 400,000 because they're going to throw 30% out. So
it would be nice if they just didn't vote her back in. Our governor only gets to run for one consecutive term. And so we may have a previous bad governor coming back to run again, McAuliffe, who was was tied in with the Clintons.
Oh, boy.
He was our governor a few years ago, and now we have this governor. So in theory, now McAuliffe's talking about throwing his hat in the ring, or maybe he already has. So, but they've got to stop electing these people. I mean, that's what's destroying everything.
Yeah, yes, sir. So last year, I don't want to get into the what happened in Virginia till after the break, but we got about 2.5 minutes left. Last year, you guys end up having the same problem as us. You have a super majority on the Democrat side. Did Bloomberg have anything to do with that?
Well, they don't have a super majority, but they control everybody. They got one vote advantage in the Senate, but they've got the lieutenant governor, which kind of gives them a 2 vote if there's a tie.
Right.
So, absolutely. Oh, Bloomberg spent a lot of money in Virginia. He gave $1.5 million or something like that to the governor. I forget. It was a lot of money, and the lieutenant governor and he put in some really bad. Well, Soros put in some bad prosecutors too, that are letting criminals go while prosecuting gun owners and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're under attack by Soros and Bloomberg, but Bloomberg really makes us a target because Virginia fought back against him, which we can go into in a little more time, but he tried to pull a quick one with our gun dealers some years ago, and a law was put in that made if he tried that again, he'd be a felon.
Yeah.
He didn't take kindly to that, and so I think he's particularly interested in coming after Virginia just out of revenge.
Yeah, here Bloomberg came in several years ago, and he went after the Senate. He got two seats flipped, so they had a super majority in the Senate, and then he started working on the House, and he eventually. So they have a total super majority now, and they are just corrupt like you wouldn't believe. They're telling people, we don't have to listen to you. We got a super majority, and we don't care what you say anymore. It's, in fact, the president of the Senate, Peter Courtney, came out we had a big, huge rally a couple years ago. He came out on the steps and said, rural Oregonians, sell your houses and move to the big cities before we take them. I think it was a
Yeah,
reference to Agenda 21, but
exactly. Yeah, well, I would note that no matter how much a party wins by, I don't care if it's 100%, that does not give them the power to take away one of our civil rights.
Right.
I don't care what their majority is.
Right. Well,
they can't come for our guns.
Right. Well, I believe every gun law is illegal. And on that, we're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back with Philip Van Cleave.
Hello, all you triglets out there listening to Trigger Warning. This is where we reject political correctness and left-wing insanity, but instead, we embrace truth and common sense. You know, there is only one gun group in Oregon that will not compromise on your rights, and that is Oregon Firearms Federation. With all the trickery and evil bills that come from the supermajority in Salem, you need a friend who will keep you informed of these nefarious plans to plunder your rights. If you have not done so, don't delay. Go to OregonFirearms.org and sign up for the free alerts. It will cost you nothing, and you will get the truth on what's going on in Salem. There is absolutely no common sense in giving up your rights, so sign up for our email alerts, and if you want to donate, we won't complain, and it will be put to good use. Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no-compromise gun group in the state of Oregon, at OregonFirearms.org. Sign up today. The Columbia County Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, Measure 5-278, will be on the ballot this November. Make sure to vote yes on Measure 5-278 so that you can help defend the rights of you and your children. Your rights have been under attack in Salem every session for as long as I can remember, and these attempts at control that will not affect criminals will not stop. So let's make our county a sanctuary for guns and pass the county law that protects your rights. Vote yes on the SASO Measure 5-278. While you are protecting our county, let's remember to fire Brad Witt, who only represents himself, not you. Let's elect Brian Stout to represent District 31, a family man and a businessman. He feels the same pains that you do. Let's send someone to Salem who is in touch with the people and will actually represent you. Elect Brian Stout as District 31 representative. Are you as tired as I am of the constant propaganda from the lamestream media? Would you like to get your news from a trusted source? How about two sources? Go to Redoubt News out of northern Idaho, where citizen journalists actually fact-check and do research. Redoubt News Oregon may even be coming here soon. Northwest Observer, another great news source that tells it like it is. Give it a try. I'm sure you will be impressed. It's time that we have truth in the news. So go to Northwest Observer and give Redoubt News a shot, and you have nothing to lose and only facts to gain. Don't forget to vote in the upcoming election. The majority does not win elections. The majority of the minority who votes does. Your vote counts, so make sure that your voice is heard and get out to vote. Now, back to Trigger Warning, where we reject political correctness and left-wing nut job policies, and we embrace truth and common sense. With your host, Chris Brumbles.
Well, welcome back, Columbia County. We're back here with Philip Van Cleave, the president of Virginia Citizens Defense League. And, yeah, we were just talking about a few things off the air. You know, I want to go into, so last year, you guys made news all over the country. And so what happened there?
Well, once the Democrats won, they basically took control of everything,
right.
Because gun owners didn't get out and vote the way they should have. There's 2.5 million gun owners in a state with at least that many, with a state with a population of 8.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So if we voted together as a bloc, we'd be pretty much unstoppable, because then that 8.5 million includes children and so forth and so on. Mm-hmm. So they didn't. So the Democrats, as soon as they got control, Katie barred the door. They were saying, "Yeah, boy, just wait till January. We're going to get rid of those evil assault weapons, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that." And by doing that, they woke up people that had been sound asleep. They had just been, totally out of it for years, just snoring away, ignoring everything. They woke them up.
Right.
Amazingly enough, it took that kind of a kick in the face to finally get them to snap to. And so we started to pass counties that were sanctuary, Second Amendment sanctuaries that wouldn't honor, where the county saying we will not enforce any unconstitutional gun control from Richmond if you guys pass any in January. Mm-hmm. We had over 105,000 people show up at those things, not all, across the state. The biggest one was over 4,000 people. These are people showing up at a Board of Supervisors meeting that might normally have 50 on an extremely contentious night, right. Not 4,000. They had to move things to large, college, arenas or whatever, traffic warnings at night that roads were blocked. I mean, it was that big of a deal. Then we had our lobby day. Mm-hmm. And we estimate easily that over 50,000 people showed up in Richmond.
Oh, wow.
It was huge. They tried desperately to stop us. The governor declared a state of emergency, that guns were going to be banned at the Capitol. The newly elected majority in the House and Senate decided that, guns wouldn't be allowed inside our Capitol building. Before, we've carried at the General Assembly as long as I've been a gun owner. We've been carrying there. But they blocked that. They wouldn't let you carry on the grounds. They put a fence up and said, well, everybody that wants to come to the rally that VCDL is holding will have to disarm, go through metal detectors, and go into this huge area that they have fenced off. Suddenly the Democrats like fences. It was amazing. And so they did all of that. And we figured we were easily headed towards 100,000, but that actually did. They said, Antifa may show up, and the Ku Klux Klan, and other white supremacists and everything. They're all looking for a fight. Somebody might try to start something with all those armed people, and so they actually did scare off. We figured they'd easily scared off about half the crowd. We would have probably had 100,000 there, but they knocked. But still, it was way more than they wanted to see there. In fact, this year we're really in a tumble. They're doing everything they can to keep us from having another event this year at the General Assembly. They're playing every dirty card they can find. They're desperate to keep us away because it really embarrassed them. The governor couldn't say, well, Virginians want this, and then look out his window and see an ocean of people saying no. So
yeah, and it's funny. It doesn't matter how many people you have. They're so arrogant. The Democrats just ignore the crowd. At least they do here, anyways. So
well, they had a hard time ignoring it, but they did their best. But the press and everything, there was so much media coverage. The cat was out of the bag and they couldn't hide it.
Yeah, maybe I misspoke. I meant they ignore the will of the people.
Well, I'll say this: they dropped that assault weapon ban like a hot potato. But I warned everybody before they did that. I said, what'll happen is they're going to see the writing on the wall. They'll get rid of that ban. But what they'll do instead is substitute a grandfathering, where you can keep your AR-15, but there'll be no new ones. And I told our members, I said, we don't have the right to give away the rights of the next generation just so we can keep our guns.
Exactly.
The answer to this is no. They can't take our guns on our watch or any other watch.
Exactly.
And no grandfathering. And believe me, after they did that, it was interesting that the crowds showing up at these meetings, this is before the General Assembly met, the crowd showing up at those Second Amendment sanctuaries increased in size when he did that. Gun owners, bless their souls, didn't fall for that baloney.
I really wish our founders would have named it the Bill of Limitations on Government so that people would know that it's not really a Bill of Rights. It doesn't give you any rights.
No, it protects them. It says, keep your hands off government. You're not to touch these.
Exactly.
But I would say our Second Amendment's been infringed on a little bit, wouldn't you?
Repeat that again?
I'd say our Second Amendment's been infringed upon a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'd say so. 30,000 times at least, depending on which stats you look at. But I've already, I say it I say it at the Capitol. I say it everywhere I go. I will not obey any more gun laws. Period. They're all illegal.
Yeah. Let me tell you what we've done here. We've changed our nomenclature. Before, when I spoke to the General Assembly, I'd refer to law-abiding gun owners. I don't do that anymore.
Right.
I refer to peaceful gun owners.
Yeah.
Because if they pass certain laws, I'm not going to be law-abiding anymore.
That's a good one.
Like in Germany. During the 30s, if you didn't turn in a Jew, you were breaking the law. You were a lawbreaker because you didn't turn in a Jew if you knew there was one around. So you were a lawbreaker. In that case, wouldn't you want to be a lawbreaker and say to hell with it? I'm not turning in my neighbors or friends. So an unjust law is one that I think it was Jefferson that said, not only should you not obey an unjust law, you are duty bound to not do it, not follow it, to break it.
And since you mentioned Jefferson, he's one of my favorite people of all time. You're standing in a Capitol that was designed by Thomas Jefferson. The cornerstone was laid by who? Patrick Henry, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just amazing. These people they have no authority to go after your gun rights, but they're going to take them all. It's amazing. How many laws did they end up passing after that?
They ended up, there was a package of 8, and they passed 7.
Oh, boy.
And the 8th being the assault weapon, which also would have banned higher capacity magazines and suppressors. All of that died. Was replaced with grandfathering, and that bill got pushed off till 2021. So it's not dead, but it's not active right now either. We won't have to deal with it till January. The other 7 got watered down.
Okay.
All of them got watered down. That was things like universal background checks. Well, you don't have to go through one if you're giving anybody a bona fide gift. So if you were a Virginia resident, you were a good friend, I said, hey, I don't really want this 1911 anymore. Would you like to have it as a friend? I could give it to you and not have to go through a background check. It's got to be a bona fide gift. If it's not a gift, if anything is exchanged whatsoever, then you have to go through a background check. So we softened that to at least allow gifts to anybody, not just family.
Yeah.
Friends or whatever. Then red flag, they got that through, but we got a whole lot of provisions in that, toning it way down to where it's hard to abuse it. It still is totally unnecessary. We have temporary detention orders that give the person treatment if they're having a mental health issue. So the red flag is totally unnecessary. But the only people that can bring it are a police officer or a Commonwealth attorney, one of our prosecutors. And there has to be an investigation, and there has to be a sworn testimony as to what they found. And then a judge has to agree. And then when they come for your guns, they can't kick your door in and take your guns. They present the red flag order to you, and you're given a period of time to turn your guns over. It's only if they have probable cause to believe you didn't turn them all over that they can get a warrant to come search your house.
What about due process for the individual? Does he still get to go to the court and?
Yes, well, he has to wait for the maximum is 2 weeks. The most he has to wait is 2 weeks before he has a chance to go in front of a judge. And we've had a few of these that were done, and the very first one that I know of got struck down. The judge looked at the information, and he struck it down and gave the guy his guns back and everything.
Oh, good.
And the guns can be kept. Initially, I think the police have them, but you can have a friend or a family member that doesn't live with you or whatever, some third party, take control of the guns. So you don't have to leave them where you'll take, hopefully somewhere they'll be taken care of. But all of this is really bad. But at least we're not bragging about any of it, but at least we toned it down. Oh, believe me, it's all very different from the way it went in the door.
Yeah.
And they had the power to do what they wanted. They have majorities in all the bodies, and the governor and lieutenant governor, all that. So they could have done anything they wanted, but they toned it way back because I think that rally had a whole lot to do with it in all those sanctuary counties. 95% of the state is a sanctuary.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But
right.
See, here in Oregon, what they did, they came out with SB 941, anti-Zansky. What that is it was the background check on personal property, except for we did get excluded family members because people saw what happened in Washington and they weren't happy about that. But so if you sell a gun to a person just out on the street, you're supposed to get a background check. Then we had the red flag law in SB 917 under the guise of suicide prevention. That was started by a rhino. And then 4145, which redefined and expanded the list of family members for the purpose of confiscation. And so the last 2 years, they wanted to pass this 978, which pretty much makes all firearms illegal. And, well, you can keep your AR if you get on a confiscation list, and they wouldn't allow them to be sold in Oregon anymore, kind of like one of your laws. And it was just ridiculous. We had to have the Republican Senate walk out for 2 years in a row to deny them a quorum.
I heard about that.
Yeah, to deny them a quorum. Otherwise, they would have pushed through cap and trade, forced vaccinations, and basically made every gun illegal in this state. But so.
Yeah, I can just see Russia reaching across the Pacific Ocean and landing in Oregon.
Yes, sir. Well, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back with Philip Van Cleaves, and we'll be back in a minute.
Hello, all you triglets out there listening to Trigger Warning. This is where we reject political correctness and left-wing insanity, but instead, we embrace truth and common sense. You know, there is only one gun group in Oregon that will not compromise on your rights, and that is Oregon Firearms Federation. With all the trickery and evil bills that come from the supermajority in Salem, you need a friend who will keep you informed of these nefarious plans to plunder your rights. If you have not done so, don't delay. Go to OregonFirearms.org and sign up for the free alerts. It will cost you nothing, and you will get the truth on what's going on in Salem. There is absolutely no common sense in giving up your rights, so sign up for our email alerts, and if you want to donate, we won't complain, and it will be put to good use. Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no-compromise gun group in the state of Oregon, at OregonFirearms.org. Sign up today. The Columbia County Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, Measure 5-278, will be on the ballot this November. Make sure to vote yes on Measure 5-278 so that you can help defend the rights of you and your children. Your rights have been under attack in Salem every session for as long as I can remember, and these attempts at control that will not affect criminals will not stop. So let's make our county a sanctuary for guns and pass the county law that protects your rights. Vote yes on the SASO Measure 5-278. While you are protecting our county, let's remember to fire Brad Witt, who only represents himself, not you. Let's elect Brian Stout to represent District 31, a family man and a businessman. He feels the same pains that you do. Let's send someone to Salem who is in touch with the people and will actually represent you. Elect Brian Stout as District 31 representative. Are you as tired as I am of the constant propaganda from the lamestream media? Would you like to get your news from a trusted source? How about two sources? Go to Redoubt News out of northern Idaho, where citizen journalists actually fact-check and do research. Redoubt News Oregon may even be coming here soon. Northwest Observer, another great news source that tells it like it is. Give it a try. I'm sure you will be impressed. It's time that we have truth in the news. So go to Northwest Observer and give Redoubt News a shot, and you have nothing to lose and only facts to gain. Don't forget to vote in the upcoming election. The majority does not win elections. The majority of the minority who votes does. Your vote counts, so make sure that your voice is heard and get out to vote. Now, back to Trigger Warning, where we reject political correctness and left-wing nut job policies, and we embrace truth and common sense. With your host, Chris Brumbles.
Well, welcome back, Columbia County. We have Philip Van Cleaves on the phone from Virginia Citizens. He's the president of Virginia Citizens Defense League, and we were just talking. Yeah, when they passed SB 941, the background check on personally owned private property, they approached Floyd Przansky, or Anti-Zansky, the guy who sponsored this bill, and they told him that it would, this would not affect the media I'm talking about said this won't, this is not going to affect criminals, and he said, I know, but it's a good start. So what do you think about that, Phil?
Yeah, well, the thing that I've learned over the years, there is no way to compromise with these guys. There is no way at all. You can give them everything they want. They're going to come back for more until you're disarmed and under the thumb of the government. There's no end to it. You cannot please them. You cannot satisfy them. You cannot give up enough. And if you think you can, you're a fool. Because it will not happen. So there's no compromise. There's no point. The person's asked me that many times recently. Well, is there some middle ground? I say firmly, no. There is no middle ground. Their version of a compromise is you give up half of what you've got. They're the equivalent of somebody coming up to you, pulling a knife on you and saying, I want your wallet. When you say no, they say, all right, just give me half of it and I'll let you go. Yeah. That's exactly what they do. They don't give you anything.
Right.
They want and they won't give up till they get it all.
That's right. It's about total control. We all know that. And they're using the Hegelian dialect. They have been for years. You want X, they want Y, we'll settle for halfway. You want X, they want Y, we'll settle for halfway. It just goes up and up and up, takes more and more of your rights. And
but they don't give anything. They
exactly.
Say, I want half of your property. Okay, I want all your property. Okay, well, I'll just take half. Then they come back for that half and say, I want half of what's left. Oh, no, all right, I'll take a quarter. Yeah, and then and you're sitting there like a dummy. You're getting nothing for any of this. It's like going to a casino where you know you can't win ever. And playing there. It's like, well, why would you do that? You know you're not going to win at this. There's no way. It said you won't.
Yep. They want total and complete control and sustained, not only political control, but social control, too. And, they won't give up anything.
Well, in the 50s, when Khrushchev took his shoe off, who was, the head of the Soviet Union, and pounded the podium at the United Nations and looked at the U.S. and said, we will bury you, he didn't mean with nuclear bombs. We had him out-nuked. He didn't mean that. He meant this. He meant that we would let your country collapse from the inside, because they've done that with lots of countries. They just are doing it to us now, where they go inside, they knock out the pillars and hold it up. Mm-hmm. They get rid of law and order. They disarm everybody. They make government all powerful. They put corrupt people in that abuse the population, and they just beat the population to submission to you, begging to be socialist. You can vote your way into socialism, but you can only shoot your way out of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so we were talking about the Second Amendment, or this Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance. Y'all did resolutions, right? You didn't do ordinances?
Right, yeah. Ordinances was a little tough because trying to get one legislators to take away the power of future legislators is a tough one.
Well, in Oregon, we have the state initiative process, and county initiative. We can do county initiatives. So we started back in 2015. We started with a Second Amendment preservation ordinance, and we got them on 10 ballots, and 8 of them passed. The only reason that 100% didn't pass is because sheriffs and some other people were coming out really heavily lying in a couple counties and got away with it. Yeah. But what that did was made it illegal to enforce any unconstitutional gun laws, which should be since written by 2012, and it gave the sheriff the authority to decide what is constitutional. Well, that was a setup for them, because our whole goal all along was what we're doing now, the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance. We ended up only getting 4 on the ballot this time. It cost us a lot of money because they fought us hard in court on every single one of them. But we're going to keep... Anyways, the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance, what it does is it makes it illegal to enforce any gun laws with the exception of machine guns, felons, and certain court orders. So you actually get your due process, and it has teeth. If they violate it, they get a $2,000 fine for the officer or deputy, $4,000 fine for their department or office, and we can sue them. So, yeah. So how many of your counties? You had a lot of counties do this resolutions, didn't you?
We have 95 counties, and 91 of them became Second Amendment sanctuaries. And we have 190 total localities, counties, cities, towns, and I think we ended up, I don't have the numbers in front of me, 150, 160 of them total of everything when it became sanctuaries.
My land.
If you look at a map of Virginia, and where green is the color of a sanctuary, there were just these little pimples every now and then that represented the parts that weren't sanctuaries. The vast majority was an ocean of green. That also got the General Assembly's attention. They really, and we could predict when they that was another thing they passed. They passed something that ate away our preemption. We had total preemption from 2004, where localities could do nothing on guns except what was specifically allowed by the General Assembly. And there was very, very little they were ever allowed to do, almost nothing, except controlling hunting and discharge. Purchase, transport, all that they couldn't control at all. Well, this General Assembly passed that as well. That gave them some power to ban guns in government buildings, government parks, at permitted events, and at community and recreation centers. And so far, only 7 have gone on that. 1 exempted permit holders, the others didn't. But the vast majority, the rest of the state, is standing still. In fact, some have passed resolutions that we're pushing that said, no, now that we have the power to do this, we're not going to do it. They didn't have the power back in December when the Second Amendment sanctuaries came through, so we thought we'd pass another set of resolutions saying, yeah, you now have the power to do something you couldn't do then, and we want you to say that, you won't do it. And we're approaching 30, or approaching, is it 40? I mean, maybe we're approaching 40 right now that are saying that they've gone that extra step. Some of them are going, our Second Amendment sanctuary covered that the way they wrote it. So
yeah.
We're in pretty good shape there. There isn't a whole lot of localities that are doing their own gun control.
Yeah, good. Well, see, we have a state preemption too, but we're not. These Second Amendment sanctuary ordinances are not changing any gun laws. What we're doing is we're making it illegal for the county to use money or manpower to enforce them.
Right.
And we absolutely have a right to decide how they spend our money.
Absolutely.
And we've actually had a couple high-powered lawyers in New York look at this law, and they said it was good. And we had a lot of help from the 10th Amendment Center, and then Oregon lawyers rewrote it. I sent you a copy of this. I was hoping that I've actually I'm from North Carolina originally, so I've been to Virginia. I can't believe y'all have so many counties as small as your state is. But I mean, we live in Oregon here, where it's like probably I don't know land mass. It's got to be 2-3 times the size of Virginia, and we have 36 counties. But yeah,
we're long. We're not real tall, but we're really long. You can drive 6 hours or 7 hours to get from one end to the other.
Yeah, so we're about that long and that high. So,
oh, okay. We're not that high, 2 or 3 hours high, I guess.
I actually went to when I was in the military. I was stationed at Aberdeen Proving Ground, so I went through Virginia a lot. But so, have y'all had any troubles with these? Oh, we got about 3 minutes, so we'll make this quick. Y'all had any troubles with the Marxist destroying statues and stuff like that in Virginia?
Well, in Richmond we did, yeah. And again, we have a very, crazy mayor who was kneeling with these same people that are destroying statues and telling the police to stand down. So we did have that. We didn't have too much with not the really bad rioting and some of the stuff you're seeing like in Oregon, but we did have some destruction of property and a lot of statues painted, a lot of statues pulled down or taken down by the city government. A real disgrace, in my opinion. But yeah, other than that, there have been a few things every now and then like in other parts of the state, not too often, where they had to bring out tear gas or something. In fact, one of our delegates, anti-gun delegates, got tear gas. I had to laugh. That was so appropriate.
Yeah. These fools have totally, and my opinion is let Portland burn. Just let it burn down. It's they've got Portland State University there, and they've been teaching revolutionary Marxists at that school for years, and now it's coming to bite them. And
yeah, that'd be hopefully the first school that would get burned down.
Yeah, they've pretty much painted up all over the town. They were butchering pigs in the middle of the town square. They were it's ridiculous.
It's not that bad here, but then again, we are definitely a shell issue. Say, how many permit holders do you have in Oregon
right now? Yeah. Say that again.
How many permit holders do you have in Oregon? Concealed handgun permit holders.
Permit holders? I don't know, but I know it's a lot. I mean, it's getting every month we have record gun sales, and we
have 700,000 concealed handgun permit holders in Virginia. So it's a pretty good chunk.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to check that out because I didn't even think about that. But I do know that daily I have people approaching me on where how to get one. The problem is now you got to wait 4 months to be on the list to go down to the sheriff's office and get it. Yeah. So
they have to do it in 45 days here, or give you a temporary permit. Either way.
I like that. I'm going to write that down and maybe we can do something about that.
Yeah, kind of call me if you want to talk about that later.
Yeah,
point you in the right direction.
That's an awesome law. So why don't you go ahead and we're getting toward the end of the hour here. Could you please, if you don't mind, give out all your information on how to get a hold of VCDL?
Sure.
VCDL.
And we have members plenty of them outside of Virginia. We have 4,000 some outside the state, and 35,000 inside. But it's VCDL, as in Virginia Citizens Defense League .org. VCDL.org is our website. There you can learn about gun laws. You can get on our free email alert system, which is VA Alert, if you want to see what's going on in Virginia dealing with guns. People love that system.
Yes.
You get on there for free. You can join on the website there if you want. We're also on Facebook. We have a page and a group. And Twitter. It's VCDL_ORG on Twitter, and also on Parler. So we're definitely out there. And we're anticipating a very busy year. Lobby Day will be on January 18th. That's the one they're desperately trying to keep us from having again, and so that we don't have another 50,000 people. But we're not going to give in to that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be praying for y'all, and I hope that you don't get any more bad gun laws, or any more gun laws for that matter, unless they're repealing some.
Well, elections are next year in the state, and the entire House is up for grabs, so we can reverse the House. They only have 5-vote majority, and so that could be reversed. We have the whole thing's up for grabs, and then 2 years after that, the entire Senate's up for grabs, and the House again. So, and the governor's up next year, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General. So 2021 going to be a big year when maybe we can reverse all this stuff.
Well, that's good news. Well, thank you very much for being on here today, Philip, and God bless you. And I'll be praying for Virginia and for VCDL.
Yeah, we'll be praying for Oregon.
Oh, please do. We need it.
Don't give up. We're not ceding any ground, and don't you cede any ground.
No, we won't. All right, we'll talk. Thank you for being on, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to thank Philip Van Cleave for being on the show today. Virginia is lucky to have a guy like that in their corner in times like these, when the far-left radical Marxists are trying everything they can think of, legal or not, to plunder your rights that so many have fought and died to protect. We are just 2 weeks away from passing 5-278, the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, and protecting our rights by county law. Make sure to vote, and make sure your friends and neighbors do. Let's fire Brad Witt, the Cole who is so scared that he has started outright lying about his opponent, Brian Stout. He is claiming on a Google ad that Brian is against the LBGTO or TQXYZ community, thinking it will help his campaign. Funny thing is, he has absolutely nothing to back this claim up with. It is pure fantasy and a desperate lie, and he doesn't even attempt to explain it. Witless has no morals and even less class, so let's make sure to fire him and send him packing. Please vote for Brian Stout on November 3rd. Thank you all for tuning in to Trigger Warning again, and join me next Tuesday at 3 when Joe Ray Perkins, who is running against Merkley and may even have a chance against his millions, will be here. Tracy Brumbles, the Columbia County Chair, will also be here to let you know about all the things that they are doing around the county to make it better. So let's keep Columbia County normal and sane, and see you next week on Trigger Warning. God bless.
You've been listening to Trigger Warning with Chris Brumbles. You can email your comments to kohi.radio@gmail.com. And listen again next time for Trigger Warning with Chris Brumbles.